What's your favorite scary movie, ranters? Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Bern and Ryan. We're here talking about my favorite movie so far this year. I know I'm spoiling a little bit. This is a mini spoiler just for that fact. Everything else is not spoiler review. We're talking about Scream 6. And you think with like a 6 movie in a horror franchise, it's like, dude, it can't be that good. And it's like, nope, it's actually pretty solid. Came out this most recent weekend, and again, before we talk about our overall thoughts on it, please guys, do not forget to give us a like, ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We appreciate you, we love you, we want to slash you, stab you, all that good stuff.
Well, if anything bad happens, you know who it is. I don't know which side you're gonna be on, but there's the suspect, everybody. So yeah, do the like and subscribe thing unless you wanna take the risk.
Basically, like I said, this is Scream 6. So, basically, the last cast from Scream 5, which is Melissa Barrera, Jen Ortega. God, I wish I knew the other brother and sister.
I got him: Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding.
It's funny because I like Mason Gooding in Booksmart. He was so stupid but great in that. And then I only seen the what was her name? I'm sorry, Claire
Jasmine Savoy Brown.
Jasmine Savoy Brown. I only saw her in an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I'm like, oh, I liked her in that episode. She was good. She was the one where Terry's obsessed about where the girls are going to school, and she had like a bookworm shirt from the preschool that the kids are going to. But when she's the one dealing out Giggle Pig, and it's just like she's like, what, you can't do Giggle Pig when you're doing calculations. I gotta have a clear head. So basically, they're back from this, and we have Courtney Cox returning, and unfortunately, this movie's going to be a little controversial for some just due to the news of like Neve Campbell kind of getting dicked out by not the creators, I guess. I don't know who really was the feud with, but essentially the studio didn't really want to pay her, unfortunately. So
yeah,
that's the unfortunate thing, that she did not return for this movie. And I love Neve Campbell. She is still the face of Scream. I mean, this is one of my favorite in the whole franchise, but it's still her. This is still hers. I could care less. But essentially, this takes place in New York City this time around, where the Carpenter sisters are trying to live life, but yet Ghostface returns in their life yet again. And man, this was such a ride of a movie. I mean, watching it, it was weird. I'm not gonna lie. I think miss a few minutes, like the first couple minutes of it, just because I went to go see it in Dolby, and I got in the theater like 8 minutes past like the starting time. But I think with Dolby they just started straight up. Or like they did the trailers before, because I remember that was the thing.
Like 40 minutes of trailers beforehand.
Yeah, it wasn't 50 minutes of trailers like we see in IMAX or the other ones. So I think it missed that. But other than that, it was I think this is definitely one of the strongest beginnings of Scream. Like just one of the best openings of the Scream franchise, and yeah, overall, dude, the action was great. The kills were awesome. They stepped up everything in the right way. Like, if you're going to do a requel/sequel in this franchise, and in a franchise in general, this is one of those examples of how you step it up. Like what Top Gun Maverick did, this one. I'm trying to think of another great sequel from last year. I know there were a good few. But they stepped up in the best way. What did you think of this movie overall, Bern?
I mean, I echo your sentiments of what you said in the beginning. It's hard to get a franchise 6 movies in and still have it be, good in quality. I mean, we've definitely see, especially in the horror genre. In the horror genre, we had gotten a bunch of sequels, to Friday the 13th, to, Nightmare on Elm Street and Hellraiser and all these other franchises that, it's always diminishing returns. They always get worse and worse and worse until eventually they reboot. Then maybe it might be good. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Who knows? It's very hit or miss. But for the most part, the Scream franchise has been fairly consistent, I would say. I think 3 and 4 are probably the weakest in the franchise, but by no means I don't think those are bad movies at all. They're still very entertaining, and I think the meta aspect to this franchise in particular definitely helps it avoid a lot of the pitfalls that other horror franchises do make. So, and I think, yeah, like you said, the way that they've escalated in terms of the kills, in terms of like the creativity behind the set pieces is definitely seen from the last movie. And yeah, this was this was such a fun time at the movie theaters. I mean, famously, I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to horror movies, and you know, I wear that badge, and I'll admit to it. But this movie was a ton of fun, and the four main cast members that have come over from the last movie are all, you know, really good here, especially Melissa Barrera. I wasn't particularly fond of her performance in the last movie, but here I think she really stepped it up, and they all had a lot more interesting things to do, especially Jenna Ortega, who in the last movie was in the hospital the whole time. So you know, her poor character had went through the ringer in that one, but here she gets to be a part of a lot of the action and stuff. So it was really cool and a lot of fun, and I'm glad that the same creative team from the last movie is the one who did this one, because I mean it only came out last year, so this is a very quick turnaround for movies. So that made me nervous initially, like, oh wow, they're really speeding this up and trying to get this movie out there. But in my opinion, there wasn't a drop in quality at all.
No, if anything, it was a rise in quality, and that's really impressive to do this in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then honestly, like I mean, I this is definitely solidified Scream as my favorite slasher franchise because I do love the meta aspect that it talks about with movies all the time and lives out those tropes, and I'm just a sucker for it. But this is the first one I really felt like Ghostface was a really formidable threat. Like it was just fantastic what they did with that character, and definitely made me pretty horrified. I was like, dude, we got another Michael Myers in the mix, not just some random as wannabe serial killer kind of thing. So because that's how I saw Ghostface. I always thought it was a bit of a pansy and like whatever, but this one was like, no, it was straight up cold, and I loved it. I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 5. I think
Wow.
this one and the best ones are gonna be one. My order for it is gonna be 1, 2, 6, and 5. Those are the top ones, and then I would say probably probably 3 and 4, 4 and 3 maybe. But yeah, this was such another great way to almost like a great reboot sequel, and man, just I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Damn, that sounds awesome. I mean, for me, there were a couple of things that did hold it back, unfortunately. I really wish that they sort of leaned into the meta aspect of it a little bit more, especially in comparison to the last movie. The last one made a real meal out of this being a reboot sequel, and how Hollywood's been doing that as of late, and they really did a good job in the last one of addressing that, and also talking about like toxic fandom in a way. And here I think they took a little bit of a step back in terms of it. They do tease certain things, especially like true crime podcasts in a way. But I don't think they ever really like delved too deeply into that, or at least as much as they did in the last movie in particular. So that was unfortunate to see, because I do love the whole meta nature of this these Scream movies and the commentary on it. So this one didn't hit as much on that end, but and also for me, the killers this time around were a little bit more predictable. At least for me, I don't know how other people are going to respond to it. Whereas the last one, I was a little bit, I was guessing a little bit more, but that didn't detract from Ghostface this time being such a brutal killer. The kills in this movie are definitely like a step up from the last one, and the set pieces too here were so much more well done, and you can tell that they really had a little bit more of a budget, or a little bit more of a handle on how they should play these things out, because a lot of the chase sequences here and the kills at the end of them were so good and so well done. And again, because I like these characters so much, as much as the original cast, I'm rooting for them to get away by the skin of their teeth. So that was really cool. And they are starting to teeter on the edge of suspension of disbelief. I'll say, in a lot of these movies, characters get stabbed a bunch of times, and they're seemingly like walking away from them at some points. So that's one of those things where I'm like, ooh, like I'm with you, but if you go a little bit further than you have been in these last few movies, you're gonna lose me, and I'm gonna be like walking around thinking I can survive like multiple stabbings and be okay.
I mean, theoretically, you may be able to. When 50 Cent got shot 9 times, he's still alive, so
True.
it's here and there. But what would you give this rating, my brother?
This one for me is gonna be a 3 out of 5. This is a really
You
fun
son of
movie.
a bitch! Oh,
This is a really fun movie. I did enjoy my time. Again, just a couple of like minor things here hold it back, but by all means, definitely go check this one if you're a fan of the franchise, or if you're just a fan of slasher horror movies in general. This one is really really well done, and I had a lot of fun with it, despite my few nitpicks here and there. But yeah, this is easy recommend for me.
No worries, Burn. I'm just messing with you, kinda. Just don't expect Ghostface to not visit you anytime soon. Just saying. But everybody, what did you guys? For those of you who saw it this last weekend, did you love it as much as I did? Was it okay? Did you freak out in the theater? We'd love to know any little stories behind that. Um, but yeah, like I said, we both Burn enjoyed it. I loved it, and like I said, stay tuned. We got Shazam coming out this week. John Wick Chapter 4 next week, which I'm really excited for. More Mando coming out, so stay tuned for those. And as always, guys, stay bodacious and keep on Rand for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.